Sade, what happened to you?
Niyi Balogun had seen poverty before, but nothing prepared him for the sight of his pregnant wife standing inside an abandoned bungalow, one hand under her swollen belly, the other pushing a plastic bowl beneath water dripping from the ceiling. His suitcase slipped from his hand. "Sade, what happened to you?" She did not run to him. She did not cry. She looked straight at the billionaire who had just returned from America. "Before you ask why I am here, ask yourself why the people you trusted were able to put me here." Niyi froze. 7 months earlier, he had left Lagos, believing money could protect everything he loved. He had staff, security, a family office, and one man he trusted to handle almost everything. Now his wife was living in a house nobody had touched in years. Worse, she had warned him. "If you think this is only about a rich man rescuing his wife, don't miss what comes next." Comment your city or country and your local time below, and subscribe, because what Sade had kept inside that old house was about to tear Niyi's trust apart. The rain had stopped 20 minutes earlier, but water still tapped into the blue plastic bowl at Sade's feet. Tap, tap, tap. Each drop seemed louder because Niyi was not speaking. The bungalow sat behind a rusted brown gate on a quiet road off an older part of Surulere, far from the gated compound in Ikoyi, where Niyi had left his wife months before. The paint on the bungalow had peeled into pale islands. One window had a crack running from the top corner. The garden had gone wild around the concrete path. Yet someone had swept the front step. Someone had fixed a new padlock to the side door. Someone had placed 2 plastic chairs under the veranda and washed a faded curtain until it was clean enough to hang. That someone was his wife. Sade's burnt orange maternity dress stretched over a belly too large for the image in Niyi's memory. When he had left for the United States, she had not even known she was pregnant. Now the child moved visibly beneath the cloth. Niyi took 1 step forward. Sade took 1 step back. That movement did more damage to him than any insult could have done. He lowered his voice. "How long have you been here?" 18 days. Niyi stared at her. 18? Yes, and nobody told me. Sade gave a short laugh. No humor in it. "I told you enough." His face tightened. "No. You told me there was trouble with Bode and some accounts. You did not tell me you were sleeping inside." He looked around the room. "Inside this place. This place belonged to my father. That is not what I mean. I know exactly what you mean." He looked past her. There was a thin mattress in the room, a standing fan, a rechargeable lamp, 2 cartons filled with papers. A small gas burner sat on a metal table beside a kettle. On the wall, an old nail still held the empty frame where Sade's father had once displayed his professional certificate. Niyi remembered the man. Quiet, careful, proud of owning a house nobody had helped him buy. He had died 5 years earlier. The bungalow had remained locked ever since. Niyi turned back to his wife. "Where is your phone?" "In my bag. Why didn't you call me?" Sade's eyes sharpened. "I called you." "No, Sade. I mean when they put you out." "They did not carry me and throw me into the street, Niyi." "Then tell me what happened. You just came from the airport." "I don't care." "You should." "I don't." Niyi, his jaw flexed. "What?" "You are doing it again." "What am I doing?" "Deciding what matters before you listen." That stopped him. Sade moved to the chair and lowered herself carefully. Her pregnancy had changed the way she sat. One hand went to the edge of the seat first, then the other to her back. Niyi watched every movement, and something in his face broke. He wanted to help. She did not ask. On the metal table were 3 thick envelopes, a file folder, and a black notebook, swollen with inserted receipts. Sade rested her palm over them. "You want to know how I ended up here?" "Yes, then sit down." Niyi looked at the second plastic chair. For a man whose offices had Italian leather seats and conference rooms where people stood when he entered, the chair looked almost ridiculous. He sat. Sade stared at him for a moment. 7 months ago, before you left for America, what did you tell me?" Niyi knew there were many possible answers. "I love you. Call me if you need anything. I will be back before you know it." He said, "I don't know. You said Bode would handle everything." A memory rose before he could stop it. Their bedroom in Ikoyi. 2 suitcases open on the bench. His passport on the bed. Sade leaning against the wardrobe, folding one of his shirts, because she did not like the way the housekeeper did it. Bode Coker had been with Niyi for 11 years. Long before the private jets and magazine covers. Long before Balogun infrastructure became a name. People whispered when government concessions and port projects were discussed. Back then, Bode had been the operations man who could make a problem disappear without making noise. Generator failed. Bode handled it. A tenant refused to leave company accommodation. Bode handled it. A vendor overcharged. Bode handled it. Niyi's mother needed a driver at 5 in the morning. Bode handled it. When Niyi built his family office, Bode moved into the center of it naturally. Not officially powerful enough to sign away companies. Powerful enough to be everywhere. That morning, Sade had watched Niyi close his suitcase. "How long this time?" 6 weeks. 8 at worst. "You said 6 last time. This one is different. They are always different." He had smiled, crossed the room, and pulled her close. "This deal closes. I breathe again. You have said that since I met you, and you still married me. That was my youthful mistake." She was smiling when she said it. He kissed her forehead, then his phone rang. "Bode," Niyi answered. "Yes?" A pause. "Approve it." Another pause. "No, let him send the revised figures first. I'm not signing rubbish because he bought you lunch." Sade laughed. Niyi ended the call and pointed at her. "See, this is why I need Bode. If I handled every small thing myself, you would never see me." Sade's smile thinned. "He handles too much." Niyi barely noticed. "Meaning? He knows your business, your houses, your staff, your family schedules, even what your aunt likes to eat when she visits. That is his job. It is a lot of trust for one man." Niyi closed the suitcase. "Sade, Bode was there when nobody knew my name. So I know." She looked at him. "You know his history. That is not always the same as knowing him." He had laughed then, not cruelly. That almost made the memory worse. He lifted his travel jacket. "You worry too much, and you don't worry enough. Balance." "Niyi." He went back to her, kissed her again, and said the sentence that would return to both of them again and again. "Anything you need, Bode will handle it." Then he left. At first, America kept him busier than expected. The work was not about saving Balogun infrastructure from collapse. Niyi was far beyond that. But the company was trying to restructure a difficult project finance arrangement for a new logistics corridor. 2 institutional partners had changed their terms. A lender wanted more guarantees. Lawyers in New York were rewriting documents faster than his Lagos team could review them. If the deal fell apart, Niyi would survive. Thousands of employees would still have jobs. But one major expansion would stall. Contractors would be exposed, and years of preparation could disappear. 6 weeks became 10. 10 became 14. Then, one night in a hotel overlooking Manhattan, Sade called him. He answered on the second ring. Her face filled the screen. She was crying. Niyi sat upright. What happened? She shook her head. What happened, Sade? She raised a white plastic stick. For 2 seconds, he did not understand. Then he did. He stopped breathing, sad. She laughed through tears. Niyi, are you serious? No, I bought it for decoration. He covered his face with one hand. My God, I went to the clinic. I wanted to be sure before I told you. How far? About 6 weeks. He stood up so fast the chair behind him rolled backward. I am coming home. No. What do you mean, no? You have the lender meeting on Monday. I don't care about Monday. You will care when you land and start shouting about covenants. Sad, I am fine. He stared at her. You are carrying my child, our child. Our child, he corrected quickly. She smiled. That night, they talked until nearly 2 in the morning Lagos time. They discussed doctors, food, names they would never agree on, whether they wanted to know the sex. Niyi tried to book a flight while still on the call. Sade stopped him. Finish what you went there to do. You are sure? I am pregnant, not dying. Don't say that. I said I am fine. You call me for anything. I will. And Bode. Sade rolled her eyes. Please don't start. Just tell him. If I need a new toothbrush, should I submit a request through Bode? Niyi smiled. You know what I mean. She smiled back. For a while, everything felt safe. That was the danger. Danger rarely aligns itself when everyone is looking. It prefers routine. The first thing Sade noticed was an invoice. 4 months into Niyi's trip, she was sitting at the dining table in their Ikoyi house, with fabric samples spread across one end and a laptop open at the other. Sade ran a small but respected interior design and procurement studio in Lekki. She did not need Niyi's money to give her work meaning. She had built the studio before marrying him, and she had fought quietly to keep it separate from his companies. Not because she mistrusted her husband, because she liked knowing something in her life existed because she had built it. That afternoon, her studio was advising on a partial refresh of 2 guest rooms in the family residence. Nothing dramatic. New lighting, upholstery, built-in storage, repair to some damaged wall panels after a leak. A subcontractor called her. Madam Sade, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Kunle. I wanted to confirm the revised amount for the wall treatment. Sade scrolled through her email. I have your quote here. The original one? Yes. Bode's office said there is another approval. Sade frowned. How much? He told her. She looked again at the document. The difference was not small. Who revised it? I thought your office did. My office? Yes, Ma. Sade leaned back. My office has not revised anything. There was a pause on the line. Kunle became cautious. Maybe I misunderstood. What exact work changed? Madam, let me confirm and call you back. He did not call back. The next morning, Sade asked Bode. He was standing in the hallway, speaking to a gardener about replacing 2 potted palms. Bode, he turned, Madam. There is a revised invoice on the guest room work. Yes, why? Additional treatment. What additional treatment? Moisture barrier. Some labor adjustments. Who assessed it? The vendor. Which vendor? Bode looked at her. For the first time, she noticed how good he was at making a pause feel like an answer. Madam, These property matters can become technical. Sade almost smiled. My company procures renovation work. I know. So explain the technical part. No disrespect. I am only saying you do not need to burden yourself, especially now. His eyes dropped briefly to her belly. Sade's fingers tightened around the papers in her hand. Especially now, with the pregnancy. I am pregnant, Bode. My brain is still in the same place. Of course. Then answer my question. His smile returned. I will send the breakdown. Today. Certainly it did not come that day, or the next. Instead, an assistant from the family office sent a generic expense summary, with several lines grouped under property maintenance. Sade read it twice. The numbers bothered her. Not because they were huge, because they were shaped to disappear. A luxury house could swallow maintenance costs without anyone blinking. Generator servicing, air conditioning, security systems, landscaping, plumbing, imported fittings, emergency call-outs. A few inflated invoices could hide inside that ecosystem for years. Sade opened a notebook. At the top of the first page, she wrote, "Guest room wall treatment." Then she added the date. She did not know yet that the notebook would follow her into her father's abandoned bungalow. At first, she told herself not to overreact. Bode had worked for Niyi for more than a decade. There could be a simple explanation. Exchange rate changes. Additional labor. Material substitution. An administrative mistake, she asked again. Bode sent a more detailed document. That made things worse. The material quantity was too high. One item carried a brand that the contractor had not installed. Another line described electrical work in a room where no electrical upgrade had happened. Sade called Kunle again. This time he did not answer. She sent a message. No reply. The next week, she found another discrepancy, then another. She stopped calling them mistakes. But she still did not accuse anyone. She copied documents. She took photographs of work that had actually been completed. She saved emails outside the family office system. And she kept dates. That was the first thing her father had taught her about business. Never argue with a number you can document. Her father, Adeyemi, had spent most of his adult life running a modest electrical supply shop. He had never become rich. He had also never lost sleep, wondering if his books were hiding something from him. When somebody tells you not to worry about a figure, he used to say, "Worry about the figure." Sade had laughed at him when she was younger. Now she heard his voice every time Bode said, "Madam, leave it with me." She was 21 weeks pregnant when she called Niyi about it properly. He was in New York. It was late evening for him, and after midnight in Lagos. Sade sat on the edge of their bed with her laptop beside her. "Niyi. Are you listening?" "I'm listening." "You are typing." He stopped. "I'm listening. There is something wrong with some of the property accounts." "What kind of wrong?" "Inflated invoices. Work that doesn't match what was paid for. Vendor figures that change after the original quote." Niyi rubbed his forehead. "Have you spoken to Bode?" Sade went quiet. "What?" "I asked if you spoke to Bode. Bode is the problem." Niyi sat straighter. "What do you mean?" "I mean, every time I ask for documents, they pass through him. Every time I ask a vendor directly, they suddenly stop replying. That is a serious accusation. I did not accuse him of stealing. You just said he is the problem. He is blocking visibility." "Okay. Not okay, like you are ending the conversation." "I'm not ending it. You sound like you are." "Sad, I have been in meetings for 12 hours. And I have been carrying your child for 21 weeks. We are both tired. That landed. Niyi closed his laptop. Fine. Send me everything. I sent some last week. To which email? Your personal. He checked his phone. I saw the thread. I thought it was the renovation issue. It is connected. I'll look at it. When? Tomorrow. Niyi. I said I'll look. She stared at him through the screen. He exhaled. I'll call Bode now. Sade's face changed. No, why? Because I am telling you Bode is the problem. So what do you want me to do? Fly home and audit the house myself? No. I want you to read what I sent before asking him to explain what I sent. Niyi looked away. That one sentence should have stopped him. Instead, he heard the pressure inside it and reacted to the pressure instead of the meaning. Sade, please. I am not dismissing you. It feels like it. I trust you. Then listen. I am listening, no. You are managing me. He stiffened. That is unfair. And Bode will handle it is fair. He rubbed his face. I did not say that. You were about to. He was. Both of them knew it. The call ended badly. Not with shouting. That would have been easier. It ended with two tired people saying good night in voices that meant nothing had been settled. The next morning, Niyi opened the email. He read the first two attachments. Then his chief financial officer called. A financing partner had changed a condition. The email disappeared under the day. At 11:40 Lagos time, Bode received a call from Niyi. Sade says there are issues with some house invoices. A pause. Then Bode laughed softly. Sir, Madam has been asking questions about maintenance. I have already asked the team to send details. Is there a problem? Nothing serious. She thinks you are blocking her. Another pause. Sir, you know, I respect Madam. I know. She is seeing some figures without the full operational context. And with the pregnancy, I think she is understandably more sensitive to stress. Niyi frowned. Don't use her pregnancy to explain her questions. Of course, sir. I did not mean it like that. Send me the full breakdown. I will, and speak to her properly. Absolutely. Niyi ended the call. For a moment, he thought the matter was handled. That was his second mistake. The first had been trusting Bode too much. The second was believing a phone call counted as listening. After that call, Bode changed tactics. He became helpful, almost excessively helpful. The next day, Sade came downstairs and found a basket of fruit on the kitchen island. Imported apples, pears, grapes, a handwritten card. For you and the baby. Please rest. We will thassle the stress. No name. It did not need one. Sade turned the card over in her fingers. The housekeeper, Joy, stood near the sink. Who brought this? Mr. Bode's driver, Ma. Sade looked at the basket again. Did I ask for fruit? Joy hesitated. No, Ma. Take what you want. Give the rest to the staff. Joy smiled carefully. Yes, Ma. By afternoon, Bode had sent the breakdown Niyi requested. It was neat. Too neat. The figures were grouped differently from the earlier reports. 3 questionable charges had been moved into broader headings. 1 vendor name had changed. Another expense now appeared as an emergency procurement. Sade printed both versions and laid them side by side, the same. Work, different description, different amount. She called the family office accounts officer. Please send me the original vendor invoice for line 37. Madam, I will need Mr. Bode's approval. Why? Because it is an internal payment document. I am asking about maintenance on my home. Yes, Ma. So why do you need approval? A pause. That is the process. Whose process? Another pause. Mr. Bode Sade thanked her and ended the call. She did not shout. She wrote the woman's name and the time in her notebook. 2 days later, Sade arrived at the family office without warning. The office occupied one floor of a modest commercial building in Victoria Island. It was not one of Niyi's corporate headquarters. The family office handled personal holdings, private properties, household logistics, charitable commitments, tax coordination, and a long list of things. Niyi no longer had time to manage himself. The receptionist stood quickly when Sade entered. "Good afternoon, Ma." "Good afternoon. Is Bode in?" The receptionist looked toward the corridor. "He is in a meeting." "With who?" "I'm not sure, Ma." "You are not sure who is meeting inside your office?" The girl's face tightened. Sade softened her voice. "Relax. I am not asking you to get into trouble. Tell him I am here." "Yes, Ma." Sade sat. 10 minutes passed. 15. 22. The door at the far end opened. Bode stepped out alone. No meeting. He adjusted his cuff and smiled. "Madam, I did not know you were coming. That is why it is called coming without appointment." He laughed as if she had made a joke. "Please come." Inside his office, Say did not sit. "I need the original invoices." "Which ones?" "The guest room works. Generator service for January. Pool pump replacement. West wing air conditioning. The roof membrane job." Bode leaned back. "That is quite a list." "It is. Why do you need all of them?" "To look at them." He smiled again. "Sade, with respect, you are not the auditor. And with respect, Bode, you are not my husband." The smile disappeared. Only for a second. Then it returned. "No one said I was. You keep acting like the gate between me and information about my own home. I am protecting the structure your husband asked me to manage." "From his wife?" "From disorder." The word sat between them. Sade looked at him. "Disorder? I did not mean you. You chose the word." He folded his hands. "Let me be direct. Niyi has a lot on his plate. He created systems, so every issue does not reach him personally. If everyone bypasses those systems, there is no point having them. I am not everyone. Nubba. Then give me the invoices. I will ask accounts to prepare what you are entitled to see." Sade laughed once. "Entitled?" Bode's eyes cooled. "You are making this personal." "No. That is exactly what I am refusing to do." She turned to leave. Behind her, Bode said, "Madam." She stopped. "Pregnancy can be a stressful period. I have seen it in my own family. Sometimes small things feel." Sade turned slowly. "Finish that sentence." Bode did not. "Say it." He lifted both hands. "I meant no offense. Good. Then don't use my pregnancy to make numbers disappear." She left. By the time she reached the lift, her hands were shaking. Not because she was afraid, because she had realized something. Bode no longer behaved like a man answering questions. He behaved like a man controlling access. The soft war began after that. No single act was dramatic enough to send to the police. That was why it worked. A meeting about roof repairs moved from Thursday to Wednesday without anyone telling Sade. A supplier, who had always called her directly, began sending messages through Bode's assistant. The gardener told her he had been instructed not to purchase anything without family office approval, even when Sade gave the instruction. 2 household staff members were quietly reassigned. When Sade asked why, Bode said the changes were operational. When she asked who authorized them, he said Niyi had delegated staffing decisions. When she asked Niyi, he said, "I told Bode to manage staffing, yes." The facts were always close enough to truth to survive one question. It took several questions to see the shape. Sade Balogun made matters worse. Sade was Niyi's aunt, his late father's younger sister. She had helped raise him after his father died, and Niyi loved her with the complicated loyalty people reserve for relatives who were present during hard years. Sade visited the Ikoyi house often. She was elegant, sharp-tongued, and deeply suspicious of disorder in any form. The first time she found Sade reviewing invoices at the dining table, she looked at the papers and sighed. "My dear, you should be resting. I am sitting down. You know what I mean." "I'm fine, Auntie." Sade lowered herself into a chair. "Bode says you have been upsetting the office over maintenance." Sade looked up. "He said that?" "He said there is confusion." "There is no confusion." Said, "Auntie, there are invoices that do not match the work done." Sade waved one hand. "Do you think Niyi built all this by checking paint receipts himself?" "No. Then why are you carrying business on your head?" "Because it concerns my home. Your husband has people, and people can make mistakes. Bode is not people. That man stood with his family before money came." Sade held Sade's gaze. "So history makes him incapable of wrongdoing?" Sade's mouth tightened. "You young women like to turn every discussion into an argument, and older people sometimes turn every question into disrespect." Silence. Sade regretted the line as soon as it left her mouth. Not because it was entirely false. Because it would become useful to Bode. Sade stood. "I came to see how you were doing. I know. You do not sound like you know." "Auntie, no. Keep your papers." She left. The following week, Sade told Niyi that Sade was becoming difficult. Niyi called his wife. "What happened with Auntie Sade?" Sade stared at the phone. "Did she tell you what happened?" "She said you were disrespectful. I asked her whether knowing Bode for years means he cannot do wrong. And I told her older people can also mistake questions for disrespect." Niyi closed his eyes. "Sad. What? You know how she is." There it was. The most dangerous sentence in a family. You know how she is. A small excuse that asks the injured person to carry the weight of somebody else's behavior. Sade's voice went flat. "Yes, I know how she is. I'm not saying she was right. You are asking me to accommodate her because changing her is inconvenient." "I didn't say that." "You didn't need to." Niyi was silent. Then, as if reaching for something practical would rescue the conversation, he asked, "How is the baby?" Sade looked down at her stomach. "Moving," he smiled. "Good." She did not. The distance between them grew without either of them naming it. Still, their marriage did not become loveless. That would have been simpler. Niyi sent voice notes in the mornings. Sade sent him pictures from clinic appointments. He watched one ultrasound video 6 times. He argued about baby names. She'd laughed when he proposed naming their son after himself. "Your ego has already occupied enough space in this family. You married the ego. I made one mistake." They still had moments like that. Warm, familiar. Which was why the other moments hurt more. Sade's work became her refuge. At her studio, nobody called her Billionaire's wife. They called her Sade. Clients disagreed with her. Suppliers negotiated. Her junior designer, Titi, once told her a fabric combination was ugly and refused to soften the word. Sade liked that. There was dignity in a room where everybody's role had edges. At home, Bode's system had begun to blur hers. By her 26th week, she had a spreadsheet, not a dramatic secret file, a spreadsheet. Dates, Invoice number, vendor, original quote, final amount, work observed, question raised, response received. There were 15 entries. 5 were probably ordinary administrative mess. 3 had plausible explanations. 7 did not. One afternoon, she noticed the same bank account suffix on 2 payment confirmations for companies with different names. She stared at the screen. Then she called a former procurement colleague. "I need you to tell me if I'm seeing something wrong." She sent him redacted details. He called back 20 minutes later. "You are not wrong to ask. That is not the same as saying something is wrong. No. But if these are unrelated vendors, I would want to know why payment routing looks connected. Could be a payment processor. Could be common ownership. Could be." Sade nodded. "Thank you, Sade. Yes, do not accuse anybody from this. I won't get originals. That is the problem." She hung up. That evening, Bode called her. "Madam, I understand you have been discussing family office payments outside." Sade went still. "Who told you?" "That is not important. It is to me. You know these matters are confidential. I removed identifying details. That is still inappropriate. Then give me the originals." Bode exhaled through his nose. "You are becoming obsessed with this, and you are becoming nervous. I am trying to protect your husband's privacy from his wife. We have had this conversation. Then perhaps answer it better." His voice changed, not louder, harder. "Madam, there are lines in every organization. This is not your organization. It is one I was entrusted to manage. Entrusted, not given." Silence. Then Bode said, "Be careful you do not create a problem where there is none." Sade's hand went to her belly. The baby kicked. She looked down. When she spoke again, her voice was calm. "People say that when they want questions to stop. I have work to do. So do I." She ended the call. 3 days later, the electrical problem began. It started with a smell. Burnt insulation near the rear corridor. Sade noticed it after dinner. The lights flickered twice. She called the house maintenance number. Musa Bello arrived the next morning with 1 assistant. Musa had been doing electrical and maintenance work on Balogun properties for years. He was 52, compact, slow-spoken, and known for refusing to guess when he could test. He opened panels, checked circuits, inspected the distribution board, found a heat-damaged connection feeding part of the rear wing. "This section needs work," he told Sade. "Is it dangerous?" "It can become dangerous if left." "Do we need to leave the house?" He shook his head. "Not the whole house. We can isolate this section first." "How long?" "If parts are available, 2 days, maybe 3. Sade nodded. "Put it in writing." Musa did. The report said exactly that. Isolate affected circuit. Replace damaged components. Inspect related connections. No recommendation for full evacuation. The next afternoon, Bode arrived with 2 men Sade did not know. They walked through the house. One of them took photographs. Bode found Sade in the sitting room. "We need to close the property temporarily." "For what?" "Electrical safety." Musa checked it. "We brought another's assessment." "Where is the report?" "It is being prepared." Musa said the affected section can be isolated. "We cannot take that risk with you in the house." Again, pregnancy used as leverage. Sade stood. "I am not refusing to leave a dangerous building. Show me the danger. You want me to risk your life while we debate paperwork. I want you to stop using my life to avoid paperwork." Bode's mouth flattened. "Madam, this is exactly the kind of thing I have been trying to avoid. What kind? Conflict. Then stop creating it. He did not answer. That evening, Musa called Sade directly. Madam. Yes, Musa. I want to tell you something before another person tells you differently. Sade sat up. What? Mr. Bode asked me to revise the report. To say what? That the entire electrical system is unsafe, and the house should be closed. Sade's fingers went cold. Is that true? I cannot sign what I did not find. Did you tell him that? Yes. What did he say? Musa was silent. Musa. He said there are other contractors. Sade stood and walked to the window. Do you still have the original report? Yes. Keep it, madam. Keep the original. Send me a copy from your own phone. A minute later, it arrived. Sade saved it in 3 places. The following morning, Musa was removed from the family contractor list. Bode did not tell Sade. Musa did. That was the moment the story changed for her. Before, she had suspected money was being hidden. Now someone had tried to manufacture a safety reason around the house. Not a dramatic conspiracy. Something more ordinary. A false piece of paperwork that would make resistance look irresponsible. Sade called Niyi. He did not answer. She called again. His assistant picked up. Mrs. Balogun. He is inside a lender session. Tell him I need 10 minutes. Is it urgent? Sade looked at the copied report in her hand. Yes, I will tell him. 2 hours passed, then 4. Niyi called after midnight. Sade answered immediately. What happened? She told him. All of it. Musa's report. Bode's request to revise it. The sudden plan to close the house. The missing invoices. Niyi did not dismiss her this time. He listened. Then he said, Send me Musa's report. I already did. Okay. And Niyi? Yes. Do not call Bode first. A pause. I need to hear his side after you read what I sent. I will read it. Promise, my promise. He meant it. That was important. Niyi was not lying to her. But good intentions are cheap when systems are stronger than attention. At 7:10 the next morning in New York, Niyi opened the report. At 7:16 his lawyer called. At 7:24 he was in a car. At 7:31 Bode sent him a message. Sir, urgent issue at residence. External engineer recommends temporary closure. Madam is resisting relocation because she believes it is connected to account questions. I am concerned. Stress is affecting the discussion. We have arranged a serviced apartment nearby for her safety. Niyi read it. He looked at Musa's report again. The 2 versions did not match. He called Bode. That was the mistake Sade had asked him not to make. Why does Musa's report say the house does not need full closure? Bode sounded surprised. Sir, Musa's assessment was preliminary. He says you asked him to change it. Change it? To recommend closing the house. A long silence. Then Bode said, Sir, I asked him to account for additional risks found after his inspection. He took offense. Where is the second report? I will send it. Who did it? A specialist contractor. Name Bode gave one. Niyi wrote it down. Send everything. Yes, sir. And do not move Sade anywhere against her will. Of course not. Niyi ended the call. He intended to investigate. Then his car arrived at the lender's office. 14 hours later, he had not. Bode moved faster. The next day, household staff were told the main house would close for emergency electrical remediation. Security limited access to part of the property. A temporary accommodation booking appeared in Sade's email. 3 weeks. Serviced apartment. Paid through the family office. Bode arrived with a document. Sade read it standing in the study. What is this? Temporary relocation acknowledgement and authorization for emergency works. She turned the page. Attached was a schedule of projected costs. Her eyes narrowed. Several vendors from her spreadsheet were listed. One line authorized retrospective settlement of completed works. Another acknowledged that emergency electrical deficiencies justified immediate procurement without standard comparison. Sade looked up. "You want me to sign this? It is routine." No, Sade. "No, you have not even finished reading. I read enough." "It confirms temporary relocation. It also confirms expenses I have been asking questions about for weeks. It confirms works already undertaken that I did not approve." "You do not need to approve them. Then why do you need my signature?" Bode stared at her. There, for 1 second, the mask slipped, not into madness, into irritation. "You live in the property, and your acknowledgement helps the file. Your file, the family's." Sade placed the papers on the desk. "I am not signing. You cannot remain here during the works. I will leave if the building is unsafe. It is. Show me the independent report. I have shown you enough. No. You have shown me paper you want me to sign." Bode stepped closer. His voice dropped. "Do you know how many people are trying to keep your life comfortable while your husband is away?" Sade did not move. "Comfort does not require silence. You are turning administrative matters into accusations. I still have not accused you. You do not need to. You walk around photographing work, calling vendors, questioning staff. Do you know what that does?" "Yes." "What?" "It makes dishonest people uncomfortable." Bode's face went still. Sade picked up the unsigned document and handed it back. Leave, he did. The household expense card stopped working the next morning. Sade discovered it at a pharmacy. The payment failed. She tried again. Failed. She used her personal debit card instead. Then she called the family office. The accounts officer sounded frightened. "Madam, I think there is a temporary hold." "On what authority?" "I don't know, Ma." "Who knows?" Silence. Sade almost laughed. Bode. "Yes, Ma." She hung up. Her personal account was untouched. Her studio account was untouched. Her own money still existed. That mattered. She was not trapped because she had no money. She was trapped because a system attached to her husband's wealth had begun using access as pressure. There is a difference, and Sade understood it. She could book a hotel that same afternoon. She could move into one of the serviced apartments. She could even stay with friends. But the accommodation Bode arranged would place her under the same machinery she no longer trusted. Her studio was paying salaries that week. She refused to pull working capital from the business simply to prove she could afford independence. Then she remembered her father's bungalow. She had not slept there since before she married Niyi. The property was old, untouched, but still hers. She drove there with Titi after work. The gate resisted until both women pushed. Grass reached almost to Sade's knees. Titi stared at the house. "Madam," Sade looked at her, "this place needs prayer." Sade laughed for the first time in days. "It needs a cleaner and carpenter. Yes, and electrician. Yes, and maybe prophet. No." Titi pointed at a broken louve. "Are you sure?" Sade smiled. Then the smile faded. The bungalow looked lonely, but did not hostile. She unlocked the front door. Dust rose from the floor. The old sitting room smelled of closed windows and wood. Her father's chair was still in the corner under a sheet. Sade walked to it, lifted the cloth, ran her fingers along the armrest. Titi stood behind her and said nothing. Sade swallowed. He used to sit here every Sunday. Titi nodded. He would complain that television presenters shouted too much. Sade smiled. Then her eyes filled. She sat in the old chair. For the first time since the trouble began, nobody was asking her to stop questioning something. Nobody was telling her to rest. Nobody was explaining her own mind to her. The place was abandoned, but it was hers. "I can stay here," she said. Titi looked around. "After we make it safe." Sade nodded. "After we make it safe." She paid for a proper electrical inspection. Not Musa. Another electrician, because she did not want later accusations that Musa had influenced the result. The old wiring needed work in 2 rooms. The main circuits could be made safe. A plumber repaired the worst leaks. A cleaner spent 2 days scrubbing. Titi brought curtains. Sade bought a small refrigerator. She moved in with 2 suitcases, her work laptop, the black notebook, and 3 boxes of documents. She did not announce it. Bode found out within a day. He called. "You left the serviced apartment booking unused." "Yes. Where are you?" "That is not your concern. You are carrying Mr. Balogun's child." Sade went cold. "My child is not your tracking device. That is not what I meant." "Then choose better words. Sir will ask me where you are. Tell him to ask me." Bowden said nothing. Sade ended the call. That evening, Niyi called. She looked at his name on the screen. Let it ring twice, then answered. "Where are you?" "Not hello. Not how are you. Where are you?" Sade closed her eyes. "In a house." "What house?" "My father's." Niyi frowned. "The old bungalow?" "Yes. Why?" "Because the main house is closed." "I thought you were moving to the apartment." "I did not." "Why not?" "I don't want accommodation controlled by Bode." "Sad, this is getting out of hand." She went silent. Niyi heard his own words too late. He corrected quickly. "I mean the whole situation, not you. Do you know the difference anymore?" "Sade." "The card was blocked." "What card?" "The household expense card." Niyi sat forward. "Who blocked it?" "You know, I did not authorize that." "I know. I'll fix it." "That is not the point." "It is part of the point." "No. The point is that someone you trust has enough control to do it. And you keep treating each incident like a separate inconvenience." Niyi stood and walked to the window of his hotel room. "Send me everything again." "I already sent it." "I have hundreds of emails. And I have one husband." Silence. Sade's voice softened, which hurt more. "I needed you to take this seriously before it became an emergency." "I am taking it seriously." "When?" "Now." "No, Niyi. Now you are reacting because I left the house." He did not know what to say. She continued. "I am safe. The bungalow has been checked. I have money. I have work. I have people around me. I am not asking you to rescue me. I never said you were. You keep solving the surface. What do you want from me?" "I want you to look." "At what?" "At the pattern." Niyi closed his eyes. "I will." "Not Bode." "I said I will." "Okay. Send me the address." No, his eyes opened, sad. "When you are ready to come home, I will send it." "You think I'm going to stay here, knowing my pregnant wife is in an old empty house and not know where? I think you stayed there while I was telling you something was wrong. That is not fair. No." She looked around the room. The repaired fan turned slowly above her. "No, it isn't." She ended the call. For 3 days, Niyi was angry. With Bode. With Sade. Mostly with himself, though he did not admit it yet. He called the family office and ordered the household card restored. Sade never used it again. That was the first boundary she drew. The second came in an email. Subject: timeline. No accusation. No emotional language. Just dates, invoice discrepancies, requests for records, Bode's responses, Musa's report, the revised closure claim, the document she refused to sign, the blocked card. At the bottom, one paragraph. I am not asking you to decide who is guilty, because I am your wife. I am asking you to verify what can be verified. If I am wrong, I will accept it. If I am right, I need to know whether you will still call this a misunderstanding. Niyi read the email in a conference room in New York. He read it once, then again. His stomach tightened. This time, he did not call Bode. Not immediately. He forwarded the documents to a senior finance manager in Lagos, who did not report to the family office. Please look at these quietly. Tell me if the questions are reasonable. The reply came 6 hours later. The questions are reasonable. I cannot conclude misconduct from these documents alone, but there are enough inconsistencies to justify an independent review. Niyi stared at the message. A knock came at the conference room door. His lawyer entered. We need you upstairs. Give me 5 minutes. We don't have 5. Niyi looked at the screen, then at the lawyer. He made a decision, a human decision, not evil, not insane, just wrong. He closed the laptop. I'll deal with Lagos after this. The meeting lasted 9 hours. Then there was another. Then a flight to Chicago. Then 3 days of negotiations that finally produced the breakthrough he had been chasing for months. By the time he returned to New York, the urgency inside Sade's email had cooled in his mind because nothing new had exploded. That is how neglect often works, not through one grand betrayal. Through the absence of the next action. He called Sade. She answered, How are you? Fine. How's the baby? Fine. I read the timeline, okay. I agree it needs review. Okay, I'll arrange it. Okay. Her calm disturbed him. Sade. Yes? Talk to me. I am talking. No, you are answering. She looked away from the screen. Niyi, I do not have anything new to say. I'm coming home soon. When? Within 2 weeks. You said that 3 weeks ago. This time I mean it. She nodded. He waited. Then she said, When you come, don't go to the mansion first. His chest tightened. Why? I will send you an address. What address? You'll see. Sade, please. Come and see where your trust put me. The call ended. Niyi sat alone with that sentence. He did not sleep well. 2 weeks later, his plane landed in Lagos. He did not call Bode. He did not call Kemi. He did not go to Ikoyi. He opened Sade's message, followed the address, and found the burnt orange dress beneath the leaking ceiling. For a while, neither of them moved. Outside, a motorcycle passed the gate and disappeared down the road. Niyi looked at Sade's face. She looked tired, not ruined, not helpless. That distinction hit him immediately. The woman in front of him had not collapsed because he was gone. She had organized herself around the damage. There were labeled folders on the table, a small tray of medication near the window, a grocery list on the fridge, a charging cable taped to the wall because the socket sat awkwardly behind a cupboard. Life had continued here, without him. That hurt in a different way. Niyi leaned forward. Let me take you somewhere better tonight. Sade shook her head. No, I'm not asking you to go back to Ikoyi. No, a hotel, anywhere you choose. No, Sade, this roof is leaking. One section leaks when rain is heavy. The bedroom does not. That is not the point. She looked at him. It is exactly the point. You see a leaking roof, and your first instinct is to move me. I see a leaking roof, and I ask, who owns the house? What needs fixing? What it will cost? And whether the person offering to move me controls the next place, too. I don't control you. I didn't say you did. The sentence landed harder because she meant it. Niyi rubbed his palms together. Okay. Okay, what? I'll listen. Sade studied him. Then she reached for the first envelope. What I am about to show you does not prove every suspicion I have. Niyi nodded. It proves enough to investigate. Fine. And you will not call Bode while I am explaining. His mouth tightened. Fine. You will not call Auntie Kemi. Fine. You will not start making calls in the middle because one detail makes you angry. He looked at her. You came prepared for me. I have known you for 6 years. That nearly made him smile. It did not. Sade opened the folder. The first page was the original guest room quotation. She placed the revised summary beside it. Look at line 8. Niyi read, moisture barrier. Now look at the photograph. She slid her phone across. A picture of the opened wall during construction. No barrier product was installed there. The contractor told me verbally the work did not change. Later, he stopped answering. That proves bad documentation. Yes, not theft, I know. She moved to the next sheet. Generator maintenance. He read the amount. What am I looking for? The service date, he checked. January 12. The generator maintenance log says January 23. That could be an entry error. Yes, another page. Pool pump replacement. Niyi frowned. We replaced that? That is what the payment summary says. Which pump? The west side circulation pump. He looked at her. That pump is 3 years old. I know because I bought it. He sat back. Sade did not press the point. She let the document sit. Next, 2 vendor companies. Different names. Different addresses. Payments passing through accounts with suspiciously similar routing information. She explained what she knew and what she did not. Niyi asked questions. This time, real questions. How did you get this? Payment confirmation forwarded to me accidentally by accounts. Is the account number complete? No, redacted. So we cannot assume common ownership. Correct. What made you connect them? The timing, invoice format, and same contact number on 2 draft quotations. Niyi looked up. Same phone number? Yes. Why is that not at the top of the file? Because it still doesn't prove who owns them. Niyi stared at his wife. He had built companies by learning which people understood the difference between a clue and a conclusion. Sade understood it, and he had allowed somebody to describe her questions as pregnancy stress. He looked away, continue. Then came Musa. The original electrical report. The message confirming Bode asked him to revise it. The termination of his contractor access the next day. Niyi's breathing changed. Sad. She held up one hand. You promised. He shut his mouth. Then came the relocation acknowledgement. He read the retrospective expense language. Read it again. Why would your signature be needed here? That is what I asked. Who drafted this? Bode brought it. Did legal see it? I don't know. Niyi's thumb rubbed the edge of the page. This is not a normal relocation acknowledgement, no. It ties your occupancy to prior works. Yes. Why? I have theories. Tell me. No. He looked up. Why not? Because I want you to see the documents before you hear my theory. That is what I asked you to do months ago. Niyi took that quietly. Sade opened the black notebook. Dates, names, calls, short sentences. No drama. January 18. Asked for original invoice. Approval required from BC January 22nd. Meeting moved without notice. February 3. Kemi, says Bode told her. I am upsetting office over maintenance. February 11. Musa inspection. Rear wing only. February 12. Bode asks Musa for full closure recommendation. February 13. Musa removed from contractor list. February 14. Bode brings relocation document. February 15. Expense card declined. Niyi kept reading. Then he saw his own name. February 1 called N. Asked him to read documents before calling B. He called B first. He stopped. The room was very quiet. A small generator somewhere behind the neighboring compound coughed and caught. Niyi's finger stayed on the line. You wrote this down. I wrote everything down. He turned another page. February 16. N says situation is getting out of hand. Clarifies he means situation, not me. His eyes closed. Sade. Yes, I am sorry. She looked at him. He opened his eyes. I should have listened. Yes. I thought I was managing a dispute. You were. That's not what I mean. I know. He pressed both hands to his face. For a long moment, the billionaire disappeared. There was only a tired husband sitting in a plastic chair. I failed you. Sade did not rescue him from the sentence. That mattered too. Finally, she said, You failed to act when it mattered. He nodded. That is different from being a bad man. His eyes lifted, but it still had consequences. Yes. The baby shifted. Sade pressed her palm against her side. Niyi watched. Is that him? We still don't know if it is him. You know. I do not. You refused to tell me. I refused to let you turn the gender scan into a board meeting. His mouth twitched. For 1 second, there they were again. Then the moment passed. Niyi looked at the papers. What do you think Bode is hiding? Sade leaned back. Not one giant theft. He waited. I think he has been inflating property and maintenance costs through vendors he controls or benefits from. For how long? I don't know. How much? I don't know. Who else? I don't know. Niyi frowned. That is a lot you don't know. Yes, she pointed to the folders. That is why we audit. He stood. The plastic chair scraped against the floor. Sade's eyes narrowed. What did you promise? I am not calling him. Then where are you going? To walk. She watched him. Walk where? Outside before I say something stupid. That was new. Sade almost smiled. Take your phone. I thought I'm not allowed to call anyone. You can call the mosquitoes. He gave her a look and went out. Under the veranda, Denise stood beside the cracked pillar and stared at the overgrown garden. He had bought houses in 3 countries. He had slept in hotel suites that cost more per night than some families earned in months. He had once spent an hour arguing with an architect over the direction of morning light. In a bedroom he used 10 days a year. Yet his pregnant wife had chosen a bungalow with a leaking roof because she trusted its limitations more than the systems surrounding his wealth. He did not know what to do with that. His phone buzzed. Bode. Niyi stared at the name. He let it ring. Again. He let it ring. A message arrived. Sir, welcome back. I was informed your flight landed. Driver says you did not come to the residence. Is everything? Niyi read it. Then another. I have prepared the house, update and schedule for tomorrow. Madam has been difficult to reach. Please let me know how you want me to handle things. Handle things. Niyi looked through the window at Sade. For years that phrase had sounded like competence. Now it sounded like control. He put the phone in his pocket. When he returned inside, Sade was standing at the sink. He went to help. She glanced at him. You can put the bowl back. Where? Under the leak. He picked it up, placed it wrong. Water hit the floor. Sade sighed. Billionaire, please. Move it left. He did. More. He moved it again. Tap, tap, tap. There. Niyi looked at the bowl. A stupid little thing. Yet it became the first instruction from his wife he followed without improving it. That evening, Niyi did not go to the mansion. He slept at a hotel. Not because Sade asked him to, because she did not invite him to stay. At 6 the next morning, he called one person. Not Bode, not Kemi, not his corporate CFO. He called Abiola Mensah, an independent forensic accountant who had once reviewed procurement controls for one of Balogun Infrastructure's subsidiaries after a vendor dispute. Abiola answered sleepily. Niyi, I need a private review. What kind? Family office property expenditure. A pause. How private? Very. Is this a divorce? No. Good. Those are irritating. Despite himself, Niyi laughed. No. Fraud. Maybe. That is not the same as yes. I know. Do you have documents? Yes. Chain of custody. Mixed. Originals? Some. Access to accounting systems. I can authorize, then do not start deleting accounts or confronting people until we preserve records. Niyi sat straighter. I was going to suspend Bode. Who is Bode? Head of family operations. Is he the suspected person? Yes. Then restrict what he can move, not what he can see, until we know what we need. If you lock everything dramatically, people start cleaning. Niyi said nothing. Abiola continued. And do not send me screenshots through WhatsApp if you have originals. Fine. Who first raised it's the issue? My wife. Does she have her own documentation? Yes. Then I want to speak to her. Niyi looked toward the window. She may not want to. Then convince her. I am not auditing your feelings. The call ended. At 8, Niyi returned to the bungalow with breakfast. Sade opened the door and looked at the bags. You bought food for 12 people. I didn't know what you wanted. You could have asked. He paused, she saw it. The lesson landed immediately. Niyi raised both hands. Fair. Sade took one bag. What did you do? He told her about Abiola. She listened. I know her work, Sade said. You do? I have read 2 procurement control reports she published. Niyi blinked. Of course you have. Is that a problem? No. It is just increasingly clear that I married someone I stopped paying enough attention to. Sade looked at him for a moment, then opened a container of moi. Good. That is useful information. He sat. I want the order. So do I. I also want you somewhere better. Sade stopped. Niyi saw the change in her face and corrected himself. Sorry. Wrong order. She waited. What do you want? He asked. Sade looked around. I want the bedroom ceiling fixed properly. Done. You are doing it again, he exhaled. Do you want me to arrange it? No. I have a contractor. Okay. I want a better chair because my back is killing me. Can I buy one? You may. He nodded solemnly. What else? I want a fridge that does not hum like a generator. I can manage that. Niyi. What? You are smiling. So are you? She stopped smiling on principle. That made him laugh. For a few minutes the room softened. Then Sade said, There is another thing. Niyi's smile faded. Tell me. I am not going back to the Ikoyi house yet. He looked at her. Even after it is cleared? Even then. Why? Because this is not only about Bode. Niyi said nothing. Sade continued. If you remove him today and put another man in the same position with the same unchecked control, nothing has changed. I can restructure the family office. Yes. And our marriage. His face tightened. Sade did not look away. I do not want to call your assistant, because I need my husband. I do not want your aunt deciding whether a concern is respectable enough to reach you. I do not want a household card that somebody else can block, while everybody tells me I am still lucky because I live in a big's house. Niyi swallowed. I never wanted that. Intent is not structure. He nodded slowly, okay. And do not fire Bode just because I said his name. I won't. Find out what happened. I will. Then act on what you can prove. I will. She picked up her spoon again. Niyi watched her eat. He realized she had just given him the exact advice he expected from senior executives in his companies. Separate allegation from evidence. Preserve records. Investigate. Act proportionately. He had listened to that wisdom in boardrooms for years. At home, he had called it stress. By midday, Abiola had a secure data room. Niyi authorized read-only access to relevant family office accounting records. He also instructed the IT administrator to preserve backups and access logs without naming a target. Bode noticed something was happening by afternoon. He called Niyi 6 times. Niyi did not answer until the 7th. Sir, Bode, welcome back. Thank you. I have been trying to reach you. I know. Is everything okay? No, silence. Bode recovered quickly. Is Madam well? She is safe. I have been worried. She refused the apartment and would not tell me where she went. She did not owe you her location. Of course not. I only meant because of the baby. Niyi stared at the hotel wall. Bode, I have engaged an independent review of family office property expenditure. Nothing. Then, may I ask why? Because I want one, certainly. Should I prepare the accounts? They already have access. The pause was longer this time. Sirs, with respect, there are confidentiality issues. I own the office. Yes, sir. So the confidentiality issue is resolved. I only mean outside reviewers may not understand the context. They can ask. Bodhi's voice lowered. Is this because of Sade? Niyi looked at the phone. This is because the records require review. Sir, I hope you know I have served you faithfully for 11 years. I know how long you have worked with me. That is not what I said. Niyi closed his eyes. No, it isn't. Another silence. Bode said, May I speak freely? You usually do. I think Madam has become fixated on a few administrative discrepancies. She has been under pressure, the pregnancy, your absence, the house issue. I have tried to protect her from unnecessary stress, but she interprets that as control. Niyi's voice went very quiet. Do not explain my wife to me, sir. Do not use her pregnancy again to make her questions smaller. I did not mean I heard what you meant. Bode breathed out. Understood. The review begins today. Copper it. Of course, Niyi ended the call. His hand was trembling. Not from rage. From recognition. Bode had said almost exactly what Sade predicted he would say. That night, Niyi went to see Kemi. He found his aunt in her sitting room in Lekki, wearing a rich violet kaftan and arguing with a television news presenter, as if the man could hear her. She muted the TV when Niyi entered. So America has finally released you. He kissed her cheek. Good evening, Auntie. You did not come yesterday. I had things to handle. Her face sharpened. Sad? Niyi sat. What did Bode tell you about her? Kemi frowned. What kind of question is that? A direct one. She studied him. He said there were problems. What problems? That she was interfering with office work, questioning people, making accusations. Did he say she accused him of stealing? Kemi hesitated. Not in those words. What words? He said she was suspicious. Of what? Accounts, vendors. Everything. Niyi leaned back. Did he tell you Musa's refused to sign a full electrical closure report? Kemi blinked. What? Did he tell you the first report said the whole house did not need to close? No. Did he tell you Sade was asked to sign an acknowledgement covering old expenses? Kemi's mouth opened, closed. Niyi, I don't know about documents. Did he tell you the household card was blocked? He said there was a temporary administrative hold. Why? I assumed because she refused to follow the relocation plan. Niyi stared at her. Kemi saw something in his face. What? You thought it was acceptable to limit her access to household money because she refused an apartment? No. I did not say that. You defended it. I did not know the full story. That is the point. Kemi stiffened. And now you are blaming me? I am asking what you knew. I knew she was disrespectful. Niyi closed his eyes briefly. Auntie, she was. Was she wrong? Kemi frowned. That is not the same thing. It is today. Kemi rose from her chair. Do not come into my house from America and interrogate me like staff. Niyi stood too. I am not interrogating you. It sounds like it. Then maybe now you understand how she felt. Kemi's eyes flashed. For a second, he expected her to order him out. Instead, she looked away. That was the first crack. Small, not enough, but real. Niyi left without asking her to apologize. Not yet. The audit needed facts. Family feelings could wait. Abiola met Sade the next morning at the bungalow. She arrived in a plain navy dress with a laptop bag and no interest in ceremony. She looked at the folders, then at Sade. Tell me what you know. Sade did. Abiola interrupted often. That is inference. Yes. Do you have the original? No. Who else saw this? Titi was with me when I called the vendor, but she did not hear his side. Then she is not a witness to his statement. Correct. Good. Sade blinked. What? People who are angry usually hate being told what their evidence does not prove. I am angry. I can see. You just said. I said usually. Sade almost smiled. For 3 hours they sorted evidence. Lead. Question. Sunsport theory. Abiola created categories. She rejected 2 of Sade's suspicions completely. This payment is normal, she said. Sade frowned. Why? Central purchasing account. Different vendor name, same processor. Nothing unusual. Sade nodded. Fine. Abiola looked up. You sound disappointed. I am relieved. That answer mattered. Abiola's expression changed. Not much, but enough. You want the truth more than you want to be right. Yes. Good. That makes my work easier. The next category was less comfortable. 2 vendors had directors connected to a company once registered at Bodhi's brother-in-law's address. That did not prove kickbacks, but it created a conflict of interest question. Another series of invoices showed repeated emergency premiums for work scheduled days in advance. A property maintenance payment had been split into 3 transfers below the internal threshold that normally triggered an additional review. Abiola tapped the screen. This interests me. Why? Not because splitting pace is automatically fraud. It is not. Then, because your family office policy requires a second approval above a certain amount. So if someone wanted to avoid that, do not finish the sentence yet. Sade nodded. Abiola looked at her. You learn quickly. My father taught me not to finish other people's evidence for them. Your father sounds irritating. He was. They both smiled. Then Abiola said, I want to speak to Musa. Musa agreed to meet at a cafe in Yaba. He arrived early, brought his own printed report. also brought something Sade had not seen, an email from Bode assistant asking whether he could strengthen the wording to support complete temporary closure. Abiola read it. Did Bode send this himself? No. Did the assistant say he asked her to? No. Then we cannot attribute the wording directly to him from this email. Musa nodded. But he called me. Do you have a recording? No, but messages afterward. Yes. He showed them. One message from Bode. If you cannot certify the full risk, we will use someone who can. Please return site keys today. Abiola photographed the screen with Musa's permission and documented the original device. Then she asked, "Why did you refuse?" Musa looked surprised. Because I did not find what he wanted me to write. That simple. You lost work, yes. 3. You have children? So why not sign it? Musa's face tightened. My children eat from my work. They should not eat from a lie as I signed. Sade looked down. That line stayed with her. Not because it sounded noble, because Musa said it as if he were explaining why rain was wet. Abiola closed her notebook. Thank you. On the way out, Sade stopped Musa. The unpaid balance from the last job. Was it settled? He shook his head. No, ma. Send the invoice to Abiola. Musa hesitated. I do not want it to look like. It will not be a reward. Abiola turned. If the work was completed and properly invoiced, send it. It will be reviewed like anything else. Musa nodded. That was all. No envelope of cash. No billionaire miracle. Just a debt that should have been paid. By the end of the first week, Abiola had enough to expand the review. Not enough to announce fraud. Enough to ask harder questions. She found that 2 maintenance vendors had undisclosed personal links to Bode's extended family. She found repeated invoice inflation beyond market ranges used by comparable suppliers. She found split payments. She found emergency procurement used where documented timelines showed no emergency. She also found ordinary errors. That was important. Not every mistake belonged to Bode. One junior accounts officer had duplicated a payment and corrected it later. One supplier had genuinely raised a price after imported components became more expensive. One suspicious transfer had a clean explanation. Truth became stronger every time they removed something that did not belong. Bode, meanwhile, felt the circle tightening. He did not run. Running would have looked guilty. He stayed in the office, answered questions, produced documents, and began telling people a different story. Not openly, carefully. Sade, he suggested, wanted control of the family office before the baby arrived. She was pushing Niyi to remove old staff. She had always disliked the fact that Bode knew the Balogun family before she did. By the time the rumor reached Kemi, it sounded almost reasonable. That was Bode's talent. He rarely invented a whole lie. He borrowed pieces of truth and rearranged them. Sade did dislike how much he controlled. She did want financial transparency. She did want him removed if the evidence proved misconduct. But pregnant wife wants control was easier for people to understand than procurement fraud. Kemi called Niyi. You need to be careful. With what? Sade is angry. Yes, angry people can push too far. Auntie, what exactly are you saying? I'm saying do not destroy an 11-year relationship because your wife and Bode cannot get along. Niyi stared at the wall. This is not about getting along. That is what everybody says when family quarrel enters business. Who is everybody? Kemi paused. Niyi understood. Bode has been calling you. He has worked with us for years. That was not my question. He called. How many times? Niyi, how many? Twice. What did he tell you? That Sade is pressuring you. Niyi laughed without humor. Sade is refusing to pressure me. That is half the problem. What does that mean? It means she gave me documents and told me not to act until they were verified. Kemi said nothing. Niyi continued. Bode is the one calling family members. The silence changed. Kemi's certainty did not disappear, but it moved. A little. That was enough for now. On the 9th day of the review, Bode made his first real move. He did not delete a file. He did not threaten, say. He sent Niyi a formal memo. Subject: governance concerns and potential conflict of interest. Niyi opened it at 6:30 in the morning. The memo was calm, professional, dangerous. Bode wrote that Sade's private design studio had previously participated in procurement connected to family properties. Because she was now challenging competing vendors and requesting payment records, he believed an independent governance review should also consider whether she had a commercial interest in directing future work toward her own network. Niyi read it twice. Then he called Sade. She answered on the first ring. What? You sound awake. I am 8 months pregnant. Sleep is now a visitor. I received something from Bode. Okay. He is alleging conflict of interest around your studio. Sade was silent. Niyi waited. Finally, she said, That is clever. You are not angry? I am very angry. You don't sound angry. What should I do? Break a plate so you can hear it? He almost smiled. This is serious. I know. Did your studio ever receive payment for work on family properties? Yes. Niyi's face changed. Sade continued before he could speak. 3 projects. All before we married. 2 after. You know this. I know you worked on things. I don't know the payment structure. My studio invoiced through normal procurement. We competed on 2. One was direct appointment because I designed the space. Any vendor you are now questioning connected to your suppliers. One fabric supplier overlaps with my network. Not the vendors Abiola is investigating. Can you prove that? Yes. How quickly? Give me 1 hour. Niyi leaned back, sad. Yes? Thank you for not hiding it. She laughed once. Do not thank me for basic sense. An hour later, Abiola had Sade's studio invoices, bank records for the relevant projects, tender correspondence, and tax receipts. She reviewed them. Then she looked at Sade. This is exactly why conflict of interest rules exist. Sade frowned. So there is a problem. There is a potential appearance issue because you are family, and your company has worked on family property. I disclosed that. Yes. And the records show the work was contracted and paid before this dispute. Your current questions do not appear tied to directing future work to your studio. Appear? I'm an accountant, not your mother. I am not going to say definitely before I finish. Sade nodded. Abiola continued. Bode is not wrong to raise the question. Sade's mouth tightened. Excuse me? He is wrong if he is using it to distract from his own conduct. But the question itself is fair. Sade sat back. That annoyed her, which was exactly why she trusted Abiola. Fine. We document it and move on. Fine. And your studio should stop taking direct work from family properties while this review continues. Sade's eyes narrowed. Why? To protect the process. A long pause. Then Sade nodded. Okay, that decision cost her. Not financially in a dramatic way, but one family project was valuable. She stepped away anyway. When Niyi heard, he understood something about accountability he had forgotten. Fair systems inconvenience innocent people too. The point is not to make one person comfortable. The point is to make the process trustworthy. Bode's memo did not stop the audit, but it changed the atmosphere. Now every person involved knew the review was not simply Sade against Bode. That made the findings harder to dismiss. 3 days later, Abiola found the strongest link yet. One maintenance company, Meridian Facility Solutions, had received repeated emergency contracts over 18 months. Its registered director was not Bode. Its official address was a small office in Ikeja. Nothing unusual there. But bank records obtained through the family office showed that shortly after several payments from the Balogun family office, Meridian paid consulting fees to another company. That second company was controlled by Bode's brother-in-law. Again, not automatically illegal. Families do business with each other. Consulting happens. But there had been no disclosure of the relationship, and the consulting invoices were vague. Operational advisory, vendor coordination, procurement support. Abiola placed the papers on the table. Now we have a real conflict. Niyi stared at them. How much? She told him the amount they could trace. It was significant, not life-changing for Niyi, life-changing for many other people. But the size was not what made him angry. The pattern did. Trust had been converted into private advantage. What does this prove? Abiola looked at him. It proves an undisclosed related party relationship and a flow of funds after payments from your family office. Kickbacks? It may support that inference. It does not prove every payment was a kickback. What else do you need? Vedden contracts, services evidence, communication, who approved what, whether pricing was inflated intentionally, whether Bode personally benefited. Niyi's patience snapped. He benefited through family, maybe. He hid it, yes. He split payments. In some cases, yes. He tried to get Musa to change a report. Musa says he did. You have the message. We have a message consistent with that. Niyi stood. Abiola did not move. I know what you want to do, she said. What? Fire him today? Yes. You can remove his access today. I already restricted it. You can suspend him pending review. Why not terminate? Because you asked for a process. Finish the process. Niyi stared at her. Then he laughed bitterly. My wife said the same thing. Your wife sounds sensible. She is becoming unbearable. From the doorway, Sade said. I heard that. Niyi turned. She stood there in a light turquoise blouse over a long skirt, one hand supporting her lower back. Abiola closed the folder. I will leave the married people to fight. No, Sade said. Stay. I want a witness. Niyi shook his head. For the first time in months, the room held something other than pressure. Then Sade's face changed. She gripped the back of a chair. Niyi was beside her in 1 second. What happened? Nothing. You made a face. I am pregnant. Faces happen. Sad. She breathed slowly. The tension passed. Braxton Hicks, she said. Aren't you sure? Yes, call the doctor. I have. When? Yesterday. You had this yesterday? Niyi, his voice rose. You didn't tell me. Sade looked at him. Lower your voice. He did. Immediately, Abiola quietly packed her laptop. Sage watched Niyi's face. I am fine. I want to come to your next appointment. She did not answer. His throat moved. Can I? That was different. Sade nodded. Yes, the next clinic visit did not heal their marriage. It did something smaller. Niyi sat in a plastic waiting room chair beside women and husbands who had no idea who he was. His phone rang twice. He turned it off. Not silent. Off. Sade noticed. She said nothing. Inside, the doctor discussed blood pressure, rest, hydration, warning signs, and the importance of reducing unnecessary stress. The advice was ordinary. That made Niyi feel worse. There was no dramatic medical emergency to absolve him by giving him one heroic thing to solve. There was only daily care. Be present. Pay attention. Ask. Listen. On the drive back, Sade said, "You can drop me at the bungalow." Niyi looked at her. "You still don't want to come to the hotel?" "No, okay." He did not argue. Another small thing. But small things had built the problem. Small things would have to build something else. Meanwhile, Bodhi's own situation was collapsing. The audit requested supporting documents for Meridian. He produced contracts. Abiola checked dates. 2 were created after work had supposedly begun. One contained a digital template introduced months after the document date, printed on the page, that did not automatically prove forgery. But it demanded explanation. The IT review also showed that some procurement files had been modified recently. Again, not proof of criminal conduct by itself. But the timeline mattered. Bode was asked to account for it. He answered in writing. Administrative cleanup. File migration. Backdated scanning. Some explanations held. Others did not. Then, one former family office employee agreed to speak. Her name was Esther. She had resigned 8 months earlier, after repeated disagreements with Bode over approval procedures. She did not claim she had seen him take money. She said something more useful. He would tell us some maintenance vendors were principal preferred. Abiola asked, meaning Niyi preferred them. That is how we understood it. Did Niyi ever communicate that directly? Not to me. Did you ever ask? Esther looked embarrassed. No. Why not? Because Bode had been there forever. There it was again. History acting like evidence. Esther continued. For some invoices, if the amount was too high for one approval level, we would receive it split. Did you question that? Yes. What happened? He said separate work streams. Were they separate? Sometimes I could not tell. Why did you leave? Esther looked down. I was tired of being responsible for entries I was not allowed to question. Sade sat very still. She knew that feeling. Abiola asked, Did you report it? To who? Niyi. Esther laughed softly. I did not have access to Mr. Balogun. Niyi, sitting at the far end of the table, felt the words like a slap. Esther did not say them to wound him. That made them worse. She had worked in his family office, handling his money, and she believed she did not have access to him. After the interview, Niyi walked outside alone. Sade followed a minute later. He was standing beside his car. I built this, he said. Sade knew he did not mean the company. Yes, I thought systems protected me from chaos. They can. This one protected Bodhi from questions. Yes, he looked at her. How do you fix something like that? You stop designing everything around your convenience. He gave a tired laugh. You always have one. One what? A knife. I call it an answer. I know. She leaned against the car. Niyi. Yes? You are trying to turn guilt into another problem you can solve quickly. He looked away. You think I shouldn't feel guilty? I think guilt is cheap if all it does is make you feel bad. He stared at her. What do you want it to do? Change what you build next? That stayed with him. By the second week, Abiola had enough for a formal findings meeting. Not a public spectacle. No press, no staff gathered in a hall, no dramatic police sirens waiting outside. Just the people who actually had a reason to be there. Niyi, Sade, Abiola, Family Office Council. Bode, Kemi, for the portion involving family property governance, and because Bode had repeatedly involved her in the dispute. Musa, briefly, to answer questions about the electrical report. The meeting took place in a conference room at the family office. Bode arrived early. He wore a deep emerald jacket over a white shirt, careful, controlled. The ruby pocket square at his chest looked almost aggressive against the green. Sade noticed it because she noticed colors when she was nervous. She wore burnt orange, not because she planned a visual battle, because it was the most comfortable dress she owned. Niyi wore cobalt blue. He had chosen it without thinking. If anyone had taken a photograph, they would have looked like people prepared for a poster. Nobody took one. That was important. This was not entertainment to the people inside the room. It was a workplace and a family dealing with damage. Abiola began. We are not here to dramatize findings. We are here to separate what we can support from what we cannot. Bode folded his hands, agreed. Her first finding concerned invoice controls. She showed repeated cases where emergency premiums had been paid despite records indicating planned work. Bode answered, in old properties, planned work can become urgent. Correct, Abiola said. That is why we reviewed the supporting communication. In 4 cases, the emergency classification appears before any documented change in condition. Bode leaned back. Documentation is not perfect. No system is. She moved on. Split payments, related party vendor links, undisclosed relationships. Bode responded to each. Sometimes well, sometimes not. Kemi watched him closely. At one point, she interrupted. Bode, is that man at Meridian your wife's brother? Bode looked at her. The consulting company is connected to my brother-in-law. That is not what I asked. No, Meridian itself is not his, but Meridian paid his company. Yes. You knew? Yes. And you did not tell us? Bode's voice tightened. It was not required in every case. Family Office Counsel spoke. The internal policy requires disclosure of material-related party interests where procurement influence exists. Bode turned. I did not have ownership. That is not the only category. He looked at Niyi. Sir, these policies evolved. We were not running a public company. Niyi said nothing. Abiola continued. Then came Musa. He entered, greeted everyone, sat. His role lasted 12 minutes. No speech, no revenge. He confirmed his inspection, confirmed his report, confirmed that Bode called asking for a stronger recommendation. Bode challenged him. I asked you to account for additional findings. Musa nodded. You asked me to say the entire house should close. Because another contractor found wider risk. Then that contractor should sign that finding. The room went quiet. Bode's mouth tightened. You were being difficult. Musa looked at him. I was being responsible for my own name. That was all. Abiola thanked him. Musa left. Then Sade's relocation acknowledgement was placed on the screen. Family Office Counsel read the clauses. His expression hardened. Who prepared this? Bode said, a standard template was adapted. By who? My office. Did legal review it? No. Why does a temporary relocation document include retrospective expense acknowledgement? It was intended to regularize property works while the resident vacated. Counsel stared at him. That is not an answer. Bode turned to Sade. You were refusing every administrative step. We were trying to keep the property process moving. Sade's voice was calm. You needed my signature. We needed cooperation. For old expenses. For continuity. You asked me to confirm things I could not verify. You had already decided I was dishonest. No. Bodhi looked surprised. Sade continued. I thought something was wrong. That is not the same as deciding you were guilty. You treated me like a criminal. I asked for invoices. You called vendors behind my back. They were vendors working on my home. You photographed works. I work in procurement. You brought outsiders into private financial matters. After your office refused originals. Bode leaned forward, and now look where we are. An 11-year relationship destroyed because you could not accept that not every process needed your approval. Niyi finally spoke. No. Everyone turned. His voice was quiet. This relationship is not being destroyed because my wife asked questions. Bode stared at him. Sir, with respect. No. You have had enough respect from me without accountability. Bode's face changed. Niyi continued. Sade did not make you split payments. Those were separate work streams. She did not create the undisclosed related party relationship. I did not benefit personally. Then the review will show that. It already shows what people want it to show. Abiola's expression did not move. Niyi said, she did not ask Musa to sign something he says he could not support. He misunderstood, and she did not block her own household card. Bode exhaled sharply. That was temporary. Why? She refused approved accommodation. Who authorized you to use financial access as leverage? It was not leverage. What was it? Administrative control. Niyi looked at him. The phrase died in the room. Bode realized it too late. Kemi shifted in her chair. Sade said nothing. Niyi leaned forward. You keep using the word control. Bode's voice lowered. Because somebody had to control the disorder while you were abroad. There it was. Not a confession. Something more honest. His belief. Niyi looked at him for a long time. You thought my family was an operational problem. I thought you needed protection from distraction, and you decided what counted as distraction. I did what you trusted me to do. Niyi sat back. Bode saw the opening. His voice became almost pleading. Sir, I was there before any of this, before the big offices, before the houses. When banks would not return your call, when contractors laughed at us, I worked nights. I handled problems nobody wanted. I protected you. Niyi's face did not change. I know. I made mistakes. Fine. But do not let people rewrite 11 years because of invoices. Niyi's eyes moved to Sade. Then back. That is the problem. Bode. What? You think 11 good years purchase the right to one dishonest one? Bowden stared at him. Niyi continued. Silence. Then Bode said, You trusted me. Niyi's answer came without heat. That was my mistake. What you did with that trust was yours. Nobody moved. Sade looked down at her hands. The line did not make her feel triumphant. It made something settle, not justice yet. Clarity. Family Office Counsel took over. Bode's access remained suspended. His employment would move through the formal, disciplinary, and termination process based on substantiated findings. The office would seek recovery of losses where evidence supported it. Where records suggested possible criminal or regulatory issues, Counsel would preserve and refer material through appropriate channels. No one promised prison by Friday. No one pretended wealth. Could order a legal outcome. The evidence would go where evidence was supposed to go. Bode stood before the meeting was formally over. He looked at Sade. For the first time, There was no smile. You wanted me gone. Sade looked at him. I wanted you to answer questions. You kept digging. Yes, and now you have what you wanted. She shook her head. No. I have what the documents support. He laughed bitterly. You think you are different from all of us because you kept a notebook. No? Then what? Sade looked at him for a moment. I think your mistake was believing people beneath your authority would stay quiet forever. Bode glanced toward the door, then at Niyi. After everything I did for you, Niyi's face hardened. You are still counting service as permission. Bode left. The door closed softly. That was it. No applause, no cheering. No one said karma. The room simply became quieter without him. Kemi remained seated. Her violet outfit, usually commanding, seemed suddenly too bright for her face. She looked at Sade. I did not know. Sade gathered her papers. I know. Kemi swallowed. I thought you were trying to create trouble. I know. I spoke to you badly. Yes. Kemi looked as if she expected Sade to soften the answer. Sade did not. I am sorry. Sade held her gaze. Thank you. Kemi's eyes filled. Can you forgive me? Sade closed the folder. Not today. Kemi flinched. Niyi opened his mouth, then shut it. Sade noticed. Good. She stood. Forgiveness is not the same as pretending something did not happen. Kemi nodded slowly. I understand. You may understand later. That was harder, more honest. Kemi accepted it. Outside the conference room, Niyi followed Sade toward the lift. You okay? No. Do you want to talk? No. Do you want food? She looked at him. Why do men think food is the second solution after talking fails? Because food has evidence. Despite herself, Sade laughed. Then she pressed a hand to her belly. Niyi stopped immediately. What? Nothing. Sad. The baby kicked. His whole face changed. Can I? She hesitated, then took his hand and placed it against the side of her belly. They waited. Nothing. Niyi frowned. He does not respect me. We do not know he is a he. The baby kicked. Niyi's eyes widened. Sade watched him. For a few seconds, the family office disappeared. The audit, Bode, the house, all of it. There was only his hand on her stomach. Then the lift opened. Sade stepped inside. Niyi followed. Life did not reset after Bode left. That surprised some people. It should not have. Removing the person who abused a bad system does not automatically make the system good. The family office underwent restructuring. Not dramatic, necessary. Approval thresholds were reviewed. Related party disclosures became mandatory and documented. Expense categories were made visible to both spouses, where household finances affected both of them. Vendor onboarding required more than one person. Staff gained a reporting route that did not pass through their direct supervisor. Not because Sade wanted a palace of procedures, because Esther's sentence had exposed something ugly. I did not have access to Mr. Balogun. Niyi asked her to return to the office. She declined. He respected that. He did, however, ask if she would consult on redesigning reporting controls. She agreed to a short contract, paid at market rate, no grand promotion, no miraculous reward. Musa's outstanding invoice was reviewed. The work was confirmed. He was paid. The contractor list removal was reversed. Niyi offered him a long-term maintenance contract. Musa declined the exclusive arrangement. I work for other people too, sir. Niyi smiled. Fair. Musa accepted a standard non-exclusive contract. Sade liked him more for that. Bode's case continued outside the family. Some funds were recovered through negotiated repayment and civil processes tied to substantiated transactions. Other allegations required further review. The family did not control the outcome, simply because Niyi was rich. That frustrated him. Good. He needed to remember that accountability was not a private service money could order. At home, the harder work began. Niyi asked Sade again to return to Ikoyi. She said no. He did not ask the next day, or the day after. Instead, he visited the bungalow, sometimes with food, sometimes with nothing. The roof was repaired by Sade's contractor. Niyi paid only after she agreed to split the cost, because the house was hers. He argued. She won. The bedroom ceiling was fixed. The old bathroom tiles remained ugly. Sade liked them. "They are terrible," Niyi said. "My father chose them. Your father had bad taste. My father would have thrown you out. Then I respect the tiles." The refrigerator stopped humming after a technician replaced a loose fan component. Niyi wanted to buy a new one. Sade made him wait for the repair diagnosis. He hated how satisfying she found that. One evening, he arrived after work and found her on the veranda sorting baby clothes. He sat beside her. For 10 minutes, neither spoke. Then Niyi said, "I have been thinking about America." Sade folded a tiny white vest. "That sounds dangerous. I kept telling myself I stayed because the work mattered. It did. I also stayed because I liked being needed there." Sade looked at him. He stared into the garden. "In those rooms, every decision came through me. People waited for my answer. Problems moved when I moved. And at home? At home, you were asking me to slow down and look at something messy. Yes, I kept choosing the problem where I felt competent." Sade folded another shirt. "That sounds true. I'm not proud of it. You are not supposed to be." He laughed softly. Then his face became serious. "I don't want to use business as an excuse." "Then don't." "I thought providing was the same as being present." Sade looked at him. "That is what many people think. I paid for everything, yes, and you were still alone." "Yes," he nodded. The truth no longer shocked him. It simply hurt. That was healthier. A week later, Kemi came to the bungalow. She did not arrive with a convoy of gifts. She brought one food flask. Sade opened the gate. Kemi stood outside. "May I come in?" The question mattered. Sade stepped aside. Yes, Kemi entered. She looked around. Her eyes rested on the old chair. "This was your father's house?" "Yes, I never came here." "No," Kemi sat carefully. "I brought soup. Thank you. I did not come to force you to talk." Sade raised one eyebrow. Kemi sighed. "Fine. I came hoping you would talk." "That sounds more like you." Kemi smiled faintly. Then the smile vanished. "I was wrong." Sade waited. "I believed Bode because I knew him longer." "Yes. I believed that history was character." Sade said nothing. Kemi looked at her hands. "When you spoke sharply to me, I made your tone more important than what you were saying." Sade's face softened by 1 degree. Kemi continued. "And I used your age against you." "Yes." "And your pregnancy." "Yes, I am ashamed of that." Sade looked out toward the gate. A hawker's voice drifted faintly from the road. Finally she said, "Auntie, I can forgive you." Kemi's eyes lifted. "But I do not want us to go back to the way things were." Kemi's face fell. Sade continued, "I want something better than the way things were." The older woman blinked. "What does that mean?" "It means if you have a problem with me, ask me. I can do that. Not Niyi. Not Bode, me." Kemi nodded. "And if I ask a question, do not call it disrespect because you do not like the question." Kemi inhaled. "That one may be difficult." Sade almost smiled. At least you are honest. Kemi laughed. The laugh broke something open. Not complete reconciliation. A beginning. 2 weeks before Sade's due date, Niyi brought papers to the bungalow. She stared at the folder. If this is another form, I will chase you out. It is not. What is it? New household finance structure. She did not touch it, Niyi sat. No one can block your access except you. That sounds dramatic. It is less dramatic on paper. Good. Household accounts are jointly visible. Major property approvals above the threshold require 2 approvals. But neither has to be bode, because there is no bode. Very funny. The family office reports separately. Your personal account remains personal. Mine remains mine. Shared expenses are shared. Sade opened the folder. Read. Asked questions. Niyi answered what he knew. For the rest, he said, I don't know. That pleased her more than a confident wrong answer. At the end, she closed the folder. This is better. Better enough? For the system. He nodded. And us? Sade looked at him. You keep asking that like there is a signature line. He smiled sadly. I like signature lines. I know. You married a man who likes closure. I married a man who thought everything could be closed. That too. She rested both hands on her belly. Niyi, I am not punishing you by staying here. I know. I needed to know I could choose where I stood. I know. And I needed to see whether you would respect the choice when you did not like it. He nodded. Have I? Mostly. You complained about the bathroom tiles. They are criminal. Sade laughed. Niyi laughed too. Then he became quiet. I miss my wife. She looked at him. I am here. I know. No. You miss the version of us before this happened. He thought about it. Maybe that version had the problem inside it already. He swallowed. Yes. So we cannot go back. What do we do? Build another one. He looked at her. Do I get to help? If you follow instructions. He smiled.
Dangerous condition.
The baby came 11 days later. Not during a thunderstorm. Not in the middle of an audit. Not while Bode was being arrested. Life was not that interested in dramatic timing. Sade woke at 3. 12 in the morning, with contractions she first tried to ignore. By 5, she called Niyi. He answered before the second ring. It's time. There was a crash on his end. What was that? What, my lamp? Niyi, I'm coming. Drive normally. I will. You are lying. I will try. He arrived in 20 minutes, looking like a man who had dressed inside a moving vehicle. Sade took one look at his shirt. Buttons. What? You missed one. He looked down. 2 buttons were wrong. She started laughing during a contraction. Then grabbed his arm hard enough to make him wince. Don't laugh, she said. I am not laughing. You are smiling. I'm terrified. Good. The hospital admission was ordinary. Forms, waiting checks, phone calls, hours. Pain that did not care how much money sat in anyone's bank account. Niyi stayed. He did not call his office. He did not ask an assistant to manage the room. When Sade told him to stop touching her shoulder, he stopped. When she asked for water, he brought it. When she told him to be quiet, he became quiet. Late that afternoon, their daughter was born, a girl. Niyi stared at the tiny face and looked betrayed. You knew. Sade was exhausted. Knew what? That she was a girl. I suspected. You knew. I enjoyed watching you call her he for months. Niyi looked at the baby. My daughter. Sade closed her eyes. What will we call her? He looked at his wife. You choose. Her eyes opened. That is suspicious, I have learned. No, you are afraid. Also true. They named her Dara, not after Niyi, Sade made sure of that. 3 months later, the bungalow looked different. Not transformed into a mansion. That would have missed the point. The exterior had been repainted. The roof was sound. The windows were repaired. The old garden had been cut back, but Sade kept the mango tree. Her father's chair remained in the sitting room. The ugly bathroom tiles survived. Niyi continued his campaign against them privately. Sade turned one room into a small workspace for her studio. Another became Dara's room. She and Niyi split their time between the bungalow and the renovated Ikoyi house while deciding what arrangement they wanted long-term. Not because they could not choose, because they finally understood choosing together took time. One Saturday morning, Niyi was on the floor of Dara's room assembling a wooden cot. The instruction sheet lay upside down. Sade stood in the doorway holding the baby. "You have installed that rail backwards." "No." "Yes." "No." She walked closer. "Niyi." He stared at the cot, then at the instructions. Then back at the cot. "It is a design issue. It is a reading issue. I run an infrastructure company, and yet the cot is winning." He sighed. Sade smiled. "You know you can pay someone to do that." Niyi did not look up, "I know." He removed the rail, turned it around, started again. Sade watched him for a while. There was something almost funny about it. A man who once believed competence meant having somebody else handle every inconvenience was sitting on the floor, reading instructions one line at a time. Dara made a small sound in Sade's arms. Niyi looked up. "Is she laughing at me?" "She has good judgment." He pointed the screwdriver at both of them. "This house is hostile." Sade crossed to the window. She opened it. Morning air moved through the room. Outside, the repaired garden was still imperfect. One corner remained bare where the grass had never grown back. The wall showed a faint line where old damp had been treated. Nothing was hidden, nothing needed to be. There are people who believe respect is proved by how much money they spend on someone. Money matters. A safe home matters. Food matters. Medical care matters. But money without attention can build a very expensive form of loneliness. And trust without accountability can become permission in the hands of the wrong person. What stayed with me about Sade was not that she lived in an abandoned house. It was that she refused to let anyone use comfort as the price of her silence. What stayed with me about Niyi was something harder. He was not cruel. He was careless with trust. And sometimes the people we love are hurt, not only by what we do to them, but by what we keep postponing when they ask us to look. On the floor beside the cot, Niyi finally tightened the last screw. He pressed one hand against the rail, tested it, then tested it again. "Say done." He looked at her. "Check it." She raised an eyebrow. "You are asking me?" "Yes." Sade walked over. She tested the rail. "Solid," she nodded. "It is good." Niyi smiled, not because he had built a cot, because this time, before deciding the job was finished, he had asked.